Hi everybody, it's Richard again here from Electric Classic Cars, and this week I'm in a silly hat, but also in the British Motor Show. And just to explain a little bit about the silly hat, this idiot here, Martin from the workshop, has come down to help us at the show, and he said to me, I'm going to get you something, and I'm going to give it to you, but you have to wear it for the duration of the show. And I didn't know what it was, and I agreed to it, and I came up with this. So that's why I got this silly hat on, and it's boiling hot outside, and I'm wearing this. So there you go, you'll have to forgive me, I've got a silly hat on. But I'm at Farnborough at the British Motor Show, and we brought 4 cars along here on the stand. A number of them you've seen before, like the BMW E9 and my crazy Tesla-powered Land Rover. And to my right here, I've got a gorgeous BMW 1602 that we've converted a few years ago. But I want to start by giving you a walk around on this Mini. You may have seen it before on other YouTubers' videos, but you know, I've not covered it on our episodes before. So here is a Tesla-powered Mini that we built. It's got a small Tesla drive unit in the front, which gives a 0 to 60 of about 5 seconds, and it's like an angry wasp. It's like crazy quick, like a go-kart. It's got a decent sized range on it as well, 150 mile range, because we've essentially got, what have we got? I can't remember the battery pack now, 31 kilowatt hour battery pack. We've got a battery pack in the front, 2 small batteries underneath the back seat, and another one in the boot, but it still gives you a decent sized boot. So it's a really practical electric Mini. In fact, it's got more range on this classic Mini than the modern electric Mini that's just come out. So it's beautifully styled. From the outside, you wouldn't have a clue it's electric, and it's just a lovely looking Mini. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take you around the other cars because you've kind of seen them before. We're going to have a wander around the show and see what we can find. Now, there's lots of electric scooters on the market, but I'm particularly taken by this one, and I'll explain why in a minute. But this is a Sayit Mo, and obviously battery pack's there, huge space underneath here. So underneath here, there's enough storage space for 2 helmets, and if you tap that, it actually tells you how full the battery is, which is great. But watch this. Imagine you live in the city, you're on a 10th floor flat, etc. There's no way you can charge this up off-street parking, etc. Not a problem with this. Check this out. So, here you go. Removable 5.2 kilowatt hour battery pack. Just wheel that up to your house and charge her up. Fantastic idea. Well done, Sayit. Right, I found something quite interesting. You know, Elon Musk has been busy working on his Cybertruck for the past few years. Well, I got one in your eye here, Elon. I've been busy on the Cyber Tank. Only joking. And I couldn't walk past this tank, or rather, Tim couldn't walk past this tank because he loves his military, history, things like that, and he knows all about this. But I found something that knows even more about this tank, and that's Staff Sergeant Fawcett. And I'm going to ask him a few questions about this. First of all, what's inside? What engine you got inside this?
So in here we've got the Perkins CV12, which we've had since 1992, and that's been in every Challenger 2 since.
That's a V12 diesel,
absolutely.
yeah?
Yes, it is.
How much power has that got?
Oh, brake horsepower. I'm not sure off the cuff, but it's
a lot.
It is a lot.
How much
got
does it
the
weigh?
most powerful engine here at this show, I should imagine. It weighs about 50 to 60 tonne.
50 to 60 tonne?
Yeah, absolutely.
Top speed is?
So about 40 kilometres an hour. That's on a road, cross country, that's obviously reduced.
So in my head, I'm thinking maybe 10 Tesla motors and a huge battery pack. I mean, this must guzzle fuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets about 3.5 litres to a kilometre. Right. But in terms of time, we can motor this for about 16 hours on a full tank.
So I think the days of electric tanks are far, far, far in the future. So yeah, there we go.
I think if I was being honest, we'd probably miss the electric side and it'll be synthetic fueled.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the next thing that'll come.
Perfect stuff. So there you go, you heard it here first. Synthetic fuel tanks are in the future. Electric tanks ain't gonna happen, boys. All right, we'll go and find someone else. Thanks for that, mate.
No
Cheers for
worries.
that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Look what I found, the Citron SM. It's such a futuristic design, this. And we've actually got one coming into the workshop. Maserati engine, loads of like cool Citron touches. But come around to the front, and I want to show you something that not a lot of people know. When you turn the steering wheel, the lights move. Really cool feature. So yeah, Citron SM, super cool. Now we've found a really special Lotus Esprit here, and Tim could not get past this car and has been ogling it for the past 10 minutes. So I'll tell you what I know about this car, and then Tim's going to have to take over. So obviously this is a Lotus Esprit Mark 1.
No, it's an Essex.
Oh, failed already. I know it's designed by Giugiaro, and he designed DeLorean, a number of cars that we've already done, Gordon Keeble, Maserati Ghibli, amazing designer. The iconic sort of like wedge supercar, if you like, and it's special because it's got an Essex sticker on. But why it's special? Over to you at the studio, Tim.
Yeah, well, that's just, as you say, it's an Esprit. But Essex were an petroleum company in the sort of 70s, 80s, I think, and they sponsored a Formula One team. Then they did a deal with Lotus to badge up one of their Esprits as an Essex. So these are quite a rare car. It's got a turbo.
Turbo!
And I think the guy was telling me there's only about sort of 30 or 40 ever made, and there's probably only about 10 or 15 left still on the road. So it's quite a rare car.
So it's a Lotus Turbo Esprit, but did they tune up anything, or is it just like
they put
badged?
the turbo on it, but I think they then later in the later models kept the turbo on.
Oh,
so I
so
think
this
it's
was the
quite
first time they put a turbo on their Esprit?
possibly. I'm not.
Wow.
I don't have all the details, but yeah. So it's quite a rare car. It's quite a
I like the colour.
striking looking car.
You've,
And I think these are really starting to come into their own now. I think they've been in the shadows for a long time, the 70s wedges. So it's time they were
brought into the limelight.
Yeah.
It's their time to shine.
Yeah.
What do you think in the comments below? What do you think of a Lotus Esprit? Are you a Lotus Esprit person or not? Because it's quite an acquired taste because it's so angular.
I think it would make a great electric conversion.
Ooh, controversial.
Yeah.
Comments below. I've come over here because we've had an inquiry from a bloke who wants a Triumph Spitfire converted. But I'm not too sure this was made by Triumph. What do you reckon, Tim?
That's definitely not a Triumph Spitfire.
Not only that, but look, it's named after your favourite film, mate, Porky's 2. Now, I don't know much about Spitfires apart from they're just glorious looking things. As anything that's old is just a beautiful thing. But I know Tim's dying to download his immense knowledge on, all his Second World War memorabilia stuff that he knows. So I know this is a Spitfire, Tim, but that's about as far as it goes. So I'm going to give you a test first. What mark Spitfire is this?
I think it's a Mark 9, but I think we should talk to the expert to get the real details.
Let's find the expert, mate, and have a chat with him because I want to know as much about this this lovely aircraft as possible. So let's go and find him over here. Right, I found the expert. His name's Derek.
Hello.
And he's going to tell me all about the plane. So first of all, I want to see if there's a correction to be made because Tim reckons this is a Mark 9. Is it a Mark 9?
Yes, in the format it sits today. However, originally when it was built, it was a Mark 16, which essentially means it was built with a Packard-built Merlin engine as opposed to a Rolls-Royce-built Merlin engine.
So they kind of backdated it.
I know, the numbers don't follow a linear logical sequence.
Okay, well, that's fine. We don't like logic anyway. Right, so this is a Mark 19 spec because the engine is a Packard, you say?
So yeah, it was built as a Mark 16 spec.
Yeah.
But today, because it's got a Rolls-Royce Merlin, it's a Mark 9 spec.
And that's the only difference between a Mark
Essentially,
16?
yes. Both built at Castle Bromwich factory in Birmingham. So yeah, just where the engines were produced is the main difference.
Are the engines the same design?
Yes, absolutely.
They're just built by a different company, Packard?
Packard could mass produce them during the Second World War. Rolls-Royce sent the drawings over. Packard said we can build these to much tighter tolerances than Rolls-Royce did.
Right.
And hence the Packard Merlin.
And did they? Did they?
Well,
which ones had the oil leaks?
Well, there's a bit of a story. How do you know what Merlin engine it's got? If there's a puddle of oil underneath, it's a Rolls-Royce Merlin.
Dear,
but
that's a
don't
bit of a
take that as a personal offence.
And those are the same engines in the Mustangs, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Many aircraft types used Merlins across the Second World War.
And was this actually active in the Second World War?
Yes, this served right at the end of the Second World War with the Royal Air Force into 45. So didn't see much in the way of frontline service, but definitely served within the Air Force.
And what was the size of the engine? Give us just a indication.
So 27 litres.
27 litres.
1500 horsepower. Obviously that varied on different marks of Merlin.
Magic.
And certainly by the time, the early Merlins were under 1,000 horsepower, so that engine really kicked on in a short period of time.
The sound from them is just
absolutely
amazing.
Yeah.
I love the sound from them.
Absolutely.
And what about guns? What size guns do they have?
So cannons in this particular
hang on,
model.
I'm going to test Tim's knowledge. What guns have we got on this plane, Tim?
I think they're 50 caliber Brownings.
Well, there's a bit of that going on. Its main armament is a cannon. I think it's Hispano-Suiza in this one. But the wings were adapted to take all different a combination of cannons and machine guns.
Yep.
And indeed, some Spitfires carried bombs under the wings.
So was he right then?
Yeah, we'll give him a point for that.
Come on, we're going to have to catch. Can you just give me, before we have a look inside, give me one really difficult question to answer Tim to catch him out? Because he's feeling very smug over there, bro.
He is feeling really smug. I would ask him which unit this aeroplane is painted to represent.
Is it painted up as an American unit?
Yeah, I can
a bit more
that.
precise. Whereabouts was it based? Ooh. Somewhere hot and sunny.
Oh, is it?
And how would he know? Is it just because the letters?
Just the squadron codes WZ.
It's got that sort of emblem there is the American.
Yes, so it's an American fighter squadron based in Sicily.
Italy, yeah.
Sicily. Sorry, WZ denotes the fighter squadron, and the two letters at the front denote that aeroplane's identification.
Right. So can we have a look in the cockpit?
Absolutely. Come on board.
Awesome. Come on, let's have a look. Now, I'm sitting inside the Spitfire now, and I must admit, I feel like a kid. It is awesome in here. But I tell you what, I got a new respect for the pilots that flew these in the Second World War, because I've just had a quick tally up, and there's 19 dials in here, Derek. How on earth did they fly these things? So the minimal training, and they were only young lads as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, wow. I wouldn't know where to start.
There were no two-seat versions either, so when you flew one of these for the first time, you were literally on your own.
Amazing. What's this thing like here?
That's the gun sight.
That's the gun sight?
Yeah.
Don't press the trigger.
Where is the trigger?
On the top of the control column.
On this one here?
Yeah.
And it's not like you see in the bomber films where it's like got this and you pull it back.
No, it's what's called a spade grip. And if you pull that back towards you, you'll see it's hinged toward the top. If you go left and right, you'll see, if you pull it left and right, you'll see how it's hinged.
Ah, wow. And that's obviously for the gun.
Yeah.
And then what have I got over here?
You've got the throttle down there, the throttle lever.
That's the throttle.
The ergonomics in the cockpit are terrible because you've got the throttle there, control column, then the undercarriage lever, which I'd ask you not to pull.
Right, okay.
So when you're taking off, you're doing this hand movement across the cockpit.
And the pedals down here, obviously, they're nothing. I've never flown a plane before, as you can probably tell.
So rudder pedals down the bottom.
They're the rudder pedals. Okay. Wow. And what's the most important dial to keep an eye on here? I mean, if you were flying
I guess things like oil and
altitude, obviously. Altitude's a very important thing in a plane. Keep an eye on that.
I mean, the 6 in the middle of the main sort of flying tell you your sort of pitch and altitude and stuff like that. Attitude, sorry. But yeah, engine and oil temperatures and that type of thing are pretty critical on these old aeroplanes.
Have you flown this?
I've flown in a 2-seat Spitfire, and it's an incredible experience. And if you're considering it, just do it.
Oh, yeah.
Are you free this afternoon?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem. We need a hand pushing it out though.
Well, this is a highlight of the show for me. I mean, electric classic cars and all that, are fantastic, but Spitfire, highlight of the show. What do you think, boys? Hurricane? Are you a Hurricane or a Spitfire guy? Answers below. Now, this is a bit of me, a Pantera. Awesome 70s supercar, and it's got that funky 70s colour as well. I quite like this orange. Now, this was a little bit different to most 70s Italian supercars, wasn't it, Tim? It had
That's right, because this has got an American V8 in rather than a...
American V8 in the back of this. So I could put 21st century American muscle in the back of this and go Tesla powered, I reckon. Now I found a lovely Rover P6, but on top is an icon of the electric car world. It's a Sinclair C5, which isn't going to mean much to anyone outside of the UK, but anybody in the UK of a certain age like me, I've got a special affinity for these things. It's battery powered, but also pedal powered, so your pedals are there, your seat there, and obviously your handlebars are underneath your legs. So when you're pedaling along, your handlebars are underneath there. So this was supposed to be the next big thing as far as personal transportation back in the 80s, but didn't quite work out that way. The Sinclair Spectrum was a computer that I had back in the day, early gaming kind of computer, and this was his next venture. Spectrum, success. Sinclair C5, not so much.
I think it was a bit ahead of its time.
It kind of was a bit ahead of its time, I think. I mean, but I think the main problem was it was too small for city traffic. And, if you're going to be commuting to work in something, you don't want to be so low down. If you are going to be biking or travelling to work, you want to be a bit higher up on a normal bike. So I think that was a main problem. Now this is a rare car. I've never seen one in the flesh before. It's a Mazda Cosmo, the first ever production car that had a rotary Wankel engine in. So the 1000cc rotary Wankel engine in. And I don't know why this wasn't more of a success, because it's just a stunning looking car. For a 1960s sports car, it's really futuristic looking. I love it. So I've just come across something fairly unique, in fact, very unique. This is the UK's first hydrogen-powered breakdown recovery truck or van. It's a Hyundai NEXO. And I've noticed behind it, actually, there's some hydrogen tanks. So engineering hat on, get it? I want to have a quick look at those tanks. So let's have a look at those. Right, we've come around the back of the AA recovery vehicle, the hydrogen-powered one now, to see the tanks. And I brought on my fellow Bobble brother, Martin, who's our EV technician. You can blame him for the silly hats, because it was him that bought them. So
you decided to wear it, mate.
Well, you made me wear it. It's like, okay, so you used to be an expert in hydrogen fuel cell technology before you came to work for us and worked on batteries. So you kind of know what these are. I know they're tanks, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes. So tell me a little bit more about these. I mean, what are they?
So these are hydrogen tanks. They are Type 4 tanks. They've got an aluminium liner, and they've got about 20 to 25 mil carbon wrap around them, just because they need to be ballistic, or they're tested to be ballistic.
And that means that they can deal with a huge impact.
And the huge pressures as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that people kind of don't realise. Obviously, hydrogen is a very light gas, and to get any energy density out of it whatsoever, you have to compress it a lot, yeah? So what sort of pressures are we talking about?
So we're talking about 700 bar, which is equivalent to 10,000 psi.
10,000 psi, right? Remember that figure. And the average tyre pressure is what, 30 to 40 psi, and these are 10,000 psi. Okay, and there's 3 of them in that vehicle.
Yeah, so there's 3 of these small ones in that vehicle there.
Right. Okay. And now I learned something that I didn't know before. You told me these have got an expiry date on.
Yep, so all hydrogen tanks have got an expiry date of 15 years. So in 15 years, the MOT tester will look at the date on the side of the fuel filler cap, and if it expires, it's a fail. The tanks need to be replaced.
So just like batteries will come to an end of life at some point, hydrogen tanks need to be replaced on fuel cells vehicles, as well as the actual batteries themselves, because don't forget, a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is a battery electric vehicle that's just got a hydrogen power station on board. So as well as the batteries kind of going out of date, if you like, so all the tanks.
Yeah, that's correct.
So these tanks are just to power the vehicle, but obviously just like petrol, diesel, electric, etc. What happens if somebody runs out of hydrogen on the motorway?
Well, people like the AA have got something special called the Genie bottle, which is basically a jerry can but in hydrogen form. So it'll give you like half a tank of fuel to get them home. And they can, on site, they can just come along, fill your tank, and then let you drive off.
Let's see if Tim can get some shots of that in the van.
Perfect.
There's probably some in the back of this van. Right, there we go. On to the next one. Right. I've found another really interesting project here, and I bumped into Ralph Hosier, and he's built this. What have you built here, Ralph? What is this thing, right?
Well, we've mostly taken things away, to be honest. So what we've done here is the customer turned up with a pre-shortened Mini, and he didn't like the fact that the old petrol engine was giving him a lot of fumes that were coming into the cabin. And on the London to Brighton mini run, he was actually getting a massive headache. And when we took the car apart, we found it was full of aspirin packets, which is how he'd actually managed to do the London to Brighton mini run. So we thought, well, that's no good. So we'll take it apart. And we've electrified it. Now, the big problem with it is finding enough space, as you know, to put the batteries in.
Minis are a massive challenge to be able to figure out where you're going to put stuff. So how on earth did you do a shorty? I don't know. So go on, tell me what you've actually done here.
So the traditional approach, you would use maybe the rear seat area, but it hasn't got one. So what we did is we needed one battery pack in the engine bay, but that's not really quite enough space. So we had to move the suspension out. So it's now got lower wishbones, custom subframe, McPherson struts.
So there's nothing Mini on the front there by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's got a windscreen. That's Mini. That's Mini.
Right, okay, so there's a Mini windscreen.
Yeah.
And underneath, nothing Mini at the front.
No, nothing at all, no.
Right, you've gone the easy path here, obviously, Ralph. So,
yeah. Well, I had an angle grinder.
No. Never give me an angle grinder. Oh, you're exactly like me, right?
We've had it at 85 miles an hour on a test track. Just like to make that clear, on a test track.
You're a braver man than me.
It was absolutely perfect. We've limited it at that because the current drain was quite
What battery pack? What's the size of the battery pack?
So we got a total of about 16 kilowatt hours.
16 kilowatt hours. It's about 60, 70 mile range, something like that?
Yeah, we did the London to Brighton in the pouring rain, which was 65 miles. It would have been shorter, but there was a wrong turn involved.
And how much power is this? Because, I mean, on a shorty Mini, you don't need much power.
No.
And this, does it pull wheelies?
Not with our batteries in the front.
It needs to pull wheelies.
No, we kept it sensible because we wanted to get there.
Kept it sensible? Did you just say that?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Look at this, come on.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. Yeah, so it's only 47 kilowatts.
Oh, that's enough.
65 horsepower, about 130 foot-pound of torque, so,
Engineering-wise, fantastic. Well done, Ralph.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. I like craziness. And comments below, is there a more crazy electric vehicle being built than this? Because this man's a genius, and he's crazy genius as well, when I approve. Right, on to the next one. Right, I've found Matt from Cleveland EV, and I've found what is eye candy to me, which is the bare bones of what's left of a Nissan Leaf. But before we go into this, Matt, just briefly explain to the viewers out there what it is you guys do.
Yeah, so we're the first independent EV specialist in the country. We look after electric vehicles, whether that's the battery pack or with high voltage faults, or whether it's just the car element. We're fully trained and looking for really looking after people.
Cool, excellent stuff. And what you've got here, I recognise, is the skeleton, if you like, or the best bits of a Nissan Leaf, which is the battery pack and the motor and inverter at the front, isn't it?
Yes.
So what happened here? Was this a crashed vehicle or was it a fail? Why is this in this state?
So it's a vehicle that we stripped down for parts, essentially. So we had the battery pack out of it, like you said, gold dust.
Yeah.
This is a battery from a 2010 Nissan Leaf.
Yeah.
One that we've taken out, 70% degradation, 30% degradation, 70% retention of capacity after 10 years.
Wow.
So we want to tell everyone about that because at a show, everyone thinks the batteries are going to die after 3 years.
That is impressive.
It's the power unit out of a 2018 vehicle, and I just knocked it up together as a demonstration of what the high voltage system is of a Nissan Leaf and our capabilities, really.
So, comments below, what classic car body should you just bolt onto this? So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'm just about to go out for the final time into the live arena with Mike Brewer and do some silliness and some burnouts and get rid of what's left of these tyres because they've been doing this for 4 days now. And I'm interested to know, if you did come to this show, what was your favourite car here? And if you didn't come to the show and watch this episode, what was your favourite car that you saw in the episode? And on that note, I'll see you on the next one.